Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Modi appreciates US President Trump's sentiments after he reaffirms friendship with PM Modi, calls ties with India very special. Trump rebrands defense with Department of War, signs order to rename Pentagon, sending a message of victory to the rest of the world. UK Prime Minister Starmer shakes up top team after Deputy Rayner quits. Foreign Minister Lamy moved to fill the post. Cooper and Mahmood also get new jobs. And in Hockey Asia Cup 2025, all eyes set on India as it's ready to take on China in a bid to reach final. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appreciated US President Donald Trump's comments on relations with India. Taking to social media X, PM Modi said, and I quote, "Deeply appreciate and fully reciprocate President Trump's sentiments and positive assessment of our ties. India and the US have a very positive and forward-looking, comprehensive and global strategic partnership." Referring to Prime Minister Modi's social media post on India-US relations, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said that PM Modi attaches enormous importance to the partnership with the US, adding that India remains engaged with the US.
Prime Minister Modi obviously attaches enormous importance to our partnership with the United States. Where President Trump is concerned, he's always had a very good personal equation with President Trump. But the point is, look, we are engaged, we remain engaged with the United States, and at this time, I can't say more than that.
Earlier, Trump had described India-US ties as very special relationship, saying he would always be friends with Prime Minister Modi.
With Modi, he's great. Prime Minister, he's great. I'll always be friends, but I just don't like what he's doing at this particular moment. But India and the United States have a special relationship. There's nothing to worry about.
In a milestone in India-Bhutan clean energy cooperation, Prime Minister Shering Tobgay witnessed on Friday the signing of 570 MW Wangchu hydropower project agreement. The green hydro plant is in Chukha province of Bhutan, for which Adani Group and Bhutan's Druk Green Power Corporation signed an MOU in June 2024. The project is a run-of-the-river or ROR scheme and represents a significant step in India-Bhutan energy cooperation. The project is seen as a reflection of the shared vision for a sustainable and green future and a key part of the intergovernmental agreement between Bhutan and India on joint venture hydropower projects. Union Minister of State for External Affairs Kirti Vardhan Singh, who is currently undertaking a visit to Iceland, interacted with the vibrant Indian community and friends of India at a reception hosted by the embassy. The minister stressed that it was encouraging to see the positive and growing role the Indian diaspora is playing in strengthening the India-Iceland partnership. Kirti Vardhan Singh also had the opportunity to meet esteemed Icelandic friends who have long served as cultural ambassadors, fostering enduring ties between the two countries. The 21st edition of the India-US Joint Military Exercise Yuddhabhyas has begun at Fort Wainwright, Alaska, USA. The field training component of the exercise has begun and soldiers from the Indian Army and US Army are rehearsing various battle drills together. The exercise is scheduled to continue till the 14th of September. Over 2 weeks, troops will rehearse a spectrum of tactical drills, including heli-borne operations, employment of surveillance resources and unmanned aerial systems, rockcraft, mountain warfare, casualty evacuation, combat medical aid and the integrated use of artillery, aviation and electronic warfare systems. The festival street of Toronto is overflowing with excitement. Dear India's Munmun Bhattacharya caught up with few persons of Indian origin and a Canadian film enthusiast on their festival plans.
There is all-round excitement about the 50th Toronto International Film Festival. Two persons of Indian origin and one Canadian is right here with us. UV is an actor. He acts for Canadian shows here. UV, how excited are you about Indian representation this time around in TIFF?
Oh, I'm very excited. I think it's growing now, just Indian representation in Hollywood in general. So seeing that representation at TIFF is great. Toronto is very multicultural. There's a lot of Desi people here, as you'll see, just walking around the streets. So seeing all those movies, seeing all the big directors and writers also come here to check out Toronto and show us some love is great because the city gives love back. So it's always fun.
Kavita, any particular movie that you're looking forward to seeing from the Indian basket?
I am going to be watching Homebound. That's coming up, and I'm super excited about it. I mean, the cast is incredible. I've heard so many good things. And it's TIFF. We're going to have an industry event, the South Asian Canadian Filmmakers Federation, on Sunday. So we've got like A.R. Rahman coming, Tom Felton, Anurag Kashyap, and I'm just so excited to learn more about what they're bringing to the table, what is going to be screening here. It'll be great.
Any particular movie that you plan to see here from the Indian side?
I'm watching Homebound as well. I might check out Bandhan. I'm really trying to, the Bobby Deol and Anurag Kashyap movie. Its timings are so tough. There's so many things going on, but Homebound, I'm definitely going to that one.
And what are the movies that you're looking forward to seeing here?
I'm really looking forward to seeing Gail Maurice's Bloodlines, as well as Nika and Madison. There's also Hamlet that everyone's been talking about. There's so many great films, and like they were saying, that there's so much to see and not enough time to catch all of it.
Absolutely. So much excitement here outside various theatres at the 50th Toronto International Film Festival with cameraman YK Loknath. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from Toronto for DD India.
DD India's Munmun Bhattacharya spoke with the cast and crew of In Search of the Sky, an Indian film screening at the 50th Toronto International Film Festival. Here are some interesting snippets on the making of the film and director Jitang Sen Gurjar's journey from Gwalior to Toronto. Take a listen.
The 50th edition of the Toronto International Film Festival has begun, and we have with us here the cast and crew of In Search of the Sky. It is the only Indian entry in the centerpiece section of TIFF 50. Let's talk to them. Tell us about your journey. You are someone who hails from Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh. You've come all the way from there to Toronto. How was this journey made possible?
Yeah, I just born in a small town called Dabra in Gwalior. My roots are in villages, and I want to tell my stories. And I started making small films in my hometown, and I'm making films in Mumbai. And then Pooja came to me with this story, this particular story, and I was so mesmerized. And now we are here in TIFF.
It all began with me traveling to rural India, and I love to go to these remote places in India. And this is last year, same time. This was one of the trip. And one of my very good friend, he has taken me to a very, very nice shelter home for mentally disabled children. And I kind of spent my entire day there, talking to them and emotionally getting connected with them. And it was very strange and very painful when I spoke to the manager, and I was kind of figuring out how these boys and how these people landed up there. So mostly 80% of them were abandoned in the crowded area, deserted. And then I spoke to each one of them, and when I came back home, this entire day stayed with me. And then I started writing, and slowly we created a beautiful team.
अभी तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि एक सपना है कि मैं यहाँ पे हूँ. अभी भी मुझे विश्वास नहीं हो रहा कि मैं यहाँ पर हूँ. मैं बहुत ज़्यादा लकी हूँ कि ये फिल्म मैंने की और ऐसा कैरेक्टर मुझे करने का मौका मिला.
The most challenging part was definitely shooting in the Mahakumbh, because we shot live on locations without any production control, without any crowd control. The camera was handled throughout the days on my shoulder, and it was a very lean crew. So shooting in that environment was really challenging, but as a cinematographer it was also a visual symphony for me to be there, to be shooting what we shot there. And I think it's an experience of a lifetime. we are hoping that we will get to release it in a few limited screens. And this film is made for India. It's made for the theaters of India. And we strongly believe that it will really connect with the, people of India. So yeah, about next year.
About next year, people in India can expect to see this movie in the theaters there as well. And so that was an exclusive conversation with the cast and crew of In Search of the Sky, and with cameraman YK Loknath. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from Toronto for DD India.
All right, and DD India's Munmun Bhattacharya joins us from Toronto. Munmun, it's day 3 of Toronto International Film Festival. What can we expect from the Indian side today? Munmun?
It's a pretty dynamic day as far as India is concerned. At TIFF, Shole's red carpet and screening is slated to take place on Saturday. Ramesh Sippy, director of the 1975 iconic Indian film Sholay, will be walking down the red carpet. I also had a chat with him for Doordarshan before the screening, and he shared his thoughts on the occasion as both Sholay and TIFF complete 50 years. So it's a landmark year for both. Other than that, a red carpet and screening of Gandhi web series directed by Hansal Mehta, a first for India in 10 years of primetime section of TIFF, will also be taking place. First 2 episodes of the first season of From Mohan to Mahatma, covering his lifespan from 18 to 46 years, will be screened. World premiere of Bayan, directed by Vikas Ranjan Mishra, which is a tense detective story tackling sexual abuse accusations, is also going to be there on Saturday. It is the only Indian film selected under the Discovery section at TIFF, which highlights debut and sophomore features from emerging filmmakers. It stars Huma Qureshi, the Indian actor. Also, In Search of the Sky, which is India's only entry this year in Centerpiece section, will also be screened. I had spoken earlier to the cast and crew about the idea driving the film and the experience shooting it during the Mahakumbh in Prayagraj. Anurag Kashyap's Bandar or Monkey in a Cage will be screened in the special presentation section of TIFF. Besides that, Wave's inaugural session will be taking place on Saturday with the focus on positioning India in the global media and entertainment markets. You will also get to hear from India's Academy Award-winning producer Guneet Monga on an initiative called Women in Films India that she is driving in collaboration with the INB Ministry to help emerging women filmmakers from India get support in terms of funding, etc. And the day finally ends with Bharat Parv, which is a cultural evening that will celebrate Indian cinema, culture and cuisine with musical performances by a few winners of the Create in India Challenge. You would remember that there were many challenges that were held in India under that banner, and they were all aimed at finding and honing creative talent in India in the media and entertainment space. So that in a way rounds up the day's agenda for India at TIFF.
Well, it seems like Munmun Bhattacharya is having a great time in Toronto. Moving on, devotees takes last glimpse of Lord Ganesha as they bid emotional farewell on the last day of Ganesh Chaturthi on Sunday. Ganesh Chaturthi is a 10-day Indian festival that honors the birth of Lord Ganesha. Devotees bring clay idols in homes and public pandals for 10 days of worship before they are immersed in holy water. It is believed that the god who comes to the earthly realm on Ganesh Chaturthi returns to his celestial abode after immersion. Cadets at the Officers Training Academy displayed a daring multi-activity display on Friday ahead of Saturday's Passing Out Parade. Passing Out Parade by the graduating officer cadets was reviewed by Indian Air Force Chief Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh this morning. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. US President Donald Trump come down heavily on European Union after Brussels fines Alphabet's Google. Stay with us for all the action from 50th Toronto International Film Festival. And after serving faithfully for over 60 years, India will bid farewell to the last of the MiG-21 fighter jets later this month.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on TD India.
You're watching TD India Live. I am Prasar Bharati. To emphasize the Pentagon's role in preventing conflict, US President Donald Trump signed an executive order to rename the Department of Defense the Department of War. It was the latest rebranding of the US military and included his decision to preside over an extraordinary military parade in downtown Washington, D.C. and to restore the original names of military bases that were changed after racial justice protests in 2020.
We've been talking about this Department of War. So we won the First World War, we won the Second World War, we won everything before that and in between, and then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War.
The order would authorize Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and subordinate officials to use secondary titles such as Secretary of War and Deputy Secretary of War in official correspondence and public communications. US President Donald Trump escalated his criticism of the European Union on Friday after Brussels fined Alphabet's Google $3.45 billion for alleged anti-competitive conduct and its edtech business. Trump vowed to raise the issues directly with EU officials and threatened potential trade retaliation while speaking to reporters at the White House.
We're upset with the European Union because of what's happening with not just Google, but with all of our big companies. They just, hit them with these unbelievable fines, $17 billion and $14 billion. And they use that money to run Europe. It's almost become like common. It's almost become a yearly occurrence, like it's a tax.
Trump has further labeled the action unfair and discriminatory and said he is considering launching a Section 301 investigation. The act allows the US to penalize foreign measures deemed unjustifiable or burdensome to American commerce. On its part, the European Commission said Google favored its own display advertising technology services, reinforcing its AdX exchange's central role in the AdTech supply chain and enabling the company to charge high fees at the expense of rivals and publishers. The watchdog said the conduct has persisted since 2014 and ordered Google to stop self-preferencing and address inherent conflicts of interest. Google has 60 days to present a compliance plan and a further 30 days to implement it. The company has criticized the EU decision and plans to appeal. Tensions continue to play out between US and Venezuela as Trump sends additional 10 stealth fighter planes to a growing military buildup in the Caribbean. US has ordered the deployment of 10 F-35 fighter jets to a Puerto Rico airfield to conduct operations against drug cartels in a move likely to further inflame tensions in the region. The advanced fighter jets will be added to an already bristling US military presence in the southern Caribbean as President Trump carries out a campaign pledge to crack down on groups he blames for funneling drugs into the United States. This development comes 3 days after US forces striked a boat that Trump said was carrying massive amounts of drugs from Venezuela, killing 11 people. The strike appeared to set the stage for a sustained military campaign in Latin America. US has also deployed warships and increased military operations in the southern Caribbean, and this week Trump has made cracking down on drug cartels in a central goal of his administration. According to US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the campaign is part of a sustained effort to disrupt drug trafficking routes, even as Venezuela denies any involvement in the incident. Despite the mounting international pressure, Venezuelans maintained their daily routines with remarkable calm. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro called for a dialogue with Washington hours after US President Trump threatened to shoot down Venezuelan military jets if they pose a danger to US forces. Maduro dismissed US accusations linking his government to drug trafficking, calling the intelligence reports untrue and insisting Venezuela is committed to combating narcotics. Venezuelan president has said that Venezuela has always been willing to talk, to engage in dialogue, but we demand respect. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer overhauled his ministerial team on Friday in a sweeping reshuffle intended to restore his authority after the resignation of his deputy Angela Rayner. Rayner quit after an investigation found that she had breached the ministerial code over purchase of a flat in southern England. Her departure prompted Starmer to carry out the first major cabinet reshuffle of his stuttering 14-month-old premiership, during which the hard-right Reform UK party has overtaken Labour in popularity. Starmer replaced Rayner as deputy with Foreign Minister David Lammy, whose post as Britain's top diplomat will now be taken by Interior Minister Yvette Cooper, Downing Street announced. Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood from Labour's right wing will succeed Cooper at the Home Office, while Lammy will also take on the Justice brief. Weak US jobs data cemented expectations of an interest rate cut later this month on Friday, but stocks slid on worries about the economic outlook and profit-taking. Wall Street's three main indices opened in positive territory after official data showed the US economy added 22,000 jobs last month, down from July's 79,000 figure. But then they quickly turned lower. All three major US indices ended lower, with the S&P 500 down 0.3%. The jobs data also sent the dollar and US Treasury yields lower, while gold hit a new record high. And time now for sport. India will face China in the third and final Super 4 match in the Men's Hockey Asia Cup on Saturday. India clinched their second Super 4 match in the Men's Hockey Asia Cup with a commanding 4-1 victory over Malaysia in Rajgir in Bihar. With this win, India now tops the Super 4 group with 4 points, also featuring Korea, Malaysia and China. Malaysia and Korea will square off in their final Super 4's match, with both teams eyeing to win to reach the final. India needs a draw or win to qualify for final. The Indian hockey team began their Women's Asia Cup campaign with an 11-0 win over Thailand in China on Friday. Mumtaz Khan, Udita and Beauty Dung scored 2 goals apiece for India in Hangzhou City. India asserted their dominance early on the field with goals from Mumtaz Khan and Sangeeta Kumari in the first quarter. The second quarter saw India further increase their attacking intensity with 3 more goals to extend their advantage. The final quarter saw India score 5 goals to seal big win. India will face Japan on Saturday. The tournament also doubles up as a qualifier for the 2026 Hockey World Cup, scheduled to be co-hosted by Belgium and the Netherlands. The champions will book a direct berth. In US Open, 5-time Grand Slam champion Carlos Alcaraz took down 24-time major winner Novak Djokovic with clinical precision to reach the US Open final. The 22-year-old Alcaraz advanced to his third consecutive Grand Slam final with a 6-4, 7-6, 6-2 victory over the Serbian. He has won 45 of his last 47 matches and made the final at 8 straight tournaments. Spaniard hasn't dropped a set as he pursues his 6th major title and 2nd at Flushing Meadows. He defeated Sinner at the French Open in June and lost to him, in fact, at Wimbledon in July. World number 1 Yannick Sinner has set a blockbuster winner-takes-all US Open final with Carlos Alcaraz after defeating Felix Auger-Aliassime in the second semi-final. Sinner defeated Felix in a 4-set battle on Friday night at Flushing Meadows, where he captured his 300th career match win. World number 1 Yannick Sinner sets up the grand final against Carlos Alcaraz. He beats Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime in a 4-set battle that lasted for nearly 3 hours and 30 minutes. Sinner has reached the finals of all 4 Grand Slams in the same year. India will be bidding farewell to the last of the MiG-21 fighter aircrafts of Air Force at the end of this month at a ceremony at Nal Air Force Base in Rajasthan. MiG-21s have faithfully served us for more than 60 years. In fact, it was a MiG-21 Bison flown by Wing Commander Abhinandan that shot down an F-16 during the Balakot airstrikes in 2019. Not just in the 1965, 1971 and 1999 Kargil wars, the Soviet origin jets were also pressed into action in Sindoor in May this year.
1963. A sharp silhouette pierces the Indian sky for the first time. Not just a machine, but a promise. Fast, fearless, unyielding. They called it the MiG-21, the first supersonic aircraft of Indian Air Force, spearhead of India's aerial dominance. In 1971, when the nation's call echoed through the clouds, the MiG-21 roared the skies with thunder, striking deep into enemy lines, dominating dogfights. For more than 6 decades, it carried the pride of the tricolour and the trust of every pilot who touched its controls. Now, on the 26th of September, 2025, the roar will fall silent. The MiG-21 will be remembered forever.
That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.